if I have a higher interest rate credit card and I'm carrying a balance, going to a place like Mountain America or credit unions that traditionally have lower interest rates on their credit cards, that is going to save me money over time. And so it's a good financial move.